Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And this article comes to you guys from Yahoo Finance. I will leave a link to it in the description so you guys could check it out. So, Verizon is in a very, very interesting position. They have been the leading wireless carrier throughout pretty much all of LTE. And that perception allowed them to grow to the biggest postpaid carrier in the United States. Most businesses, enterprise, first responders, majority share, all of that goes to Verizon. But the interesting position that Verizon has put themselves in is they're losing share, and they're losing a lot of share. It's not just a few points here and there. No, they are losing share daily. Every single day, Verizon customers are leaving the company. So Verizon is making subtle moves here and there, like, for example, this move potentially, right? Verizon wants to buy back Los Angeles stake from US Cellular, which is only about 5.5% or so. So not really a big deal, right? It's not going to all of a sudden increase their spectrum holdings or anything like that. Like I said, subtle moves. And I recently, yesterday, I put up a poll last night on X, formerly known as Twitter, that will Verizon continue to allow their share to be taken in favor of them waiting perhaps on the competition to raise pricing. So maybe Verizon is anticipating by recent commentary that their competitors will also raise price. So will those customers end up at Verizon potentially? It might be something that Verizon is looking at because they have so many brands. They got Visible, they got Total by Verizon, they got Straight Talk, they have Verizon Postpaid, they got cable that they get revenue from. So if those customers churn from T-Mobile because they raise pricing on legacy customers, are those customers going to end up on some of Verizon's revenue? If it's wholesale revenue or directly to Verizon, maybe that's for what Verizon is waiting on. But is that really a guarantee? No. T-Mobile could raise pricing on legacy customers in the next few weeks and their churn only go up by 2 basis points. That's not really effective enough, in my opinion, for Verizon to all of a sudden stop the bleeding and show organic growth. So Verizon has to somehow figure out how to grow again. On the wireless consumer side, they are not growing. They lose share daily. And then in the fourth quarter, if this year goes the same as last year they took a loss in Q1, Q2, Q3, and then in the fourth quarter they grew. But in the fourth quarter, the only reason they were able to grow to a number that they did is because they were heavy on the acquisition cost. They were giving away all kinds of stuff. Xbox, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, Nintendo Switch, TVs. They were giving it all away. So they had to go through heavy acquisition costs to get those customers. And if it goes the same way this year in Q4, you will see them that heavy on promotions again, because if you show a loss in the fourth quarter, like a net loss of customers on the consumer side in the fourth quarter, you got a problem. You got a big problem. That's when investors, shareholders, they really start turning their backs on you if you can't even grow in the fourth quarter. That's the holiday season. That's the shopping quarter. If you can't grow there, then you got a big problem. So that's what Verizon is looking at. They're trying to stop the bleeding. But from what I've been told, as recent as like 2 hours ago, they haven't been able to stop it. They're still losing share daily. They just increased prices in the beginning of March, which should show that churn should show in this second quarter, which is over, I think, June 30th. So they are losing share daily. So that's a problem for Verizon. They are still deploying C-band as quickly as they have been. They are still adding new sites left and right. We're seeing C-RAN, their C-RAN small cells get C-band, and those are going live, doing close to 2 gigs, huge indoor solutions, because the penetration from that small cell is great, and they're densifying. But yet, they haven't found the right strategy to grow the business on the consumer side. So, are they going to jeopardize potential share losses or share taking from them because they want to be stubborn and keep pricing where it is? Or do they eventually say, okay, we're going to have to drop pricing a little bit, and we're going to have to sustain a competitive promotion throughout every quarter in order to grow? When does that happen? When does the share get too low where it starts triggering an alarm? Like, hey, we have to go to the board of directors. We have to get approval to run these promos because we're losing too much share. When does that happen? Right? When is enough internally at Verizon? So they will continue to make moves, right? It's obviously not anything big or capital intensive. They're not buying any spectrum right now. According to them, they have what they need for a decade. Sampath recently with Craig Moffett said they have nearly unlimited spectrum. I mean, they seem fine with what they got. And they're not just talking about it, they're actually going out and deploying it. They're putting millimeter wave on nodes. They're putting it in on macros. They're going to eventually do point-to-point for multi-dwelling units, which FWA is a successful part of the business. So they're probably going to substitute maybe some loss in the future, I think, on price on the consumer business for wireless and make up for it on FWA. That's just a suggestion of mine because they got to do something. This can't go on like this and them not do anything about it, especially as they touch majority of sites. That's going to be another problem that they have to face, right? If next year, towards the end of next year, they come out and say, hey, look, we've touched majority of our sites and the churn is still relatively high or they're still not growing organically, that's going to be another problem, a tough question that they have to face. Currently, they can still say, okay, in the markets where we have C-band deployed, our churn is 3-4 basis points better. So that still goes to say that there are still a lot of sites without C-band and markets without C-band. But once you close that gap, I mean, what's keeping you from growing? What's the problem? And that's going to be another tough question that they will have to face eventually. Hopefully by that time, they've turned it around. They figured out a way to grow. But right now, anything that they're offering, it might look good on the surface and on paper, but it hasn't really turned into results. They haven't been able to consistently come out yet and say, okay, we grew 250,000 new customers in the last 3 quarters. They haven't been able to do that. So that lets me know that they are willing to sacrifice share for the higher price point. They want people to pay the pricing that they offer. The consumer is telling them that I'm not willing to pay that price and I'm willing to go somewhere else. And that's I'm not saying that they're all going to AT&T and T-Mobile because that's clearly not the case. But they are telling the Verizon postpaid, hey, look, I'm not willing to pay your price. I'm comfortable with going to Visible. I'm comfortable with going to Total by Verizon. I'm okay with choosing cable as a provider. And Charter Spectrum is getting ready to do phone buyouts. That's going to hit Verizon even more. So they have to get competitive at some point. It's got to happen. They spend all this money monetizing, right, for monetization. They spent it all on C-band. They put all their eggs in one basket. They're adding CBRS for additional capacity layers. And now they have to grow. They have to grow. They cannot sit still and just let the market continue taking all this share from them. And yes, they will start claiming, oh, we make wholesale revenue off of the cable customer. They will start saying all of that, but I still don't think that fixes their problem. And recently, Sampath said that if cable offered them the same deal today, they would take it again. And he said yes so fast before Craig could even finish his question. If I was Sampath, I would tell cable to kick rocks. And I know they're all in the binding contract, so they probably can't speak like that publicly. But I would tell them no. I would tell them nope. I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't like that deal. It doesn't favor me. Tell cable to go to another provider. I would have some MVNOs, but not the large cable players because they have assets. They have capex. Not as much as Verizon, but they have money that they compete on against from their home broadband subscribers. They can do phone buyouts and they can do $25 lines, $10 lines, free lines, right? Some MVNOs, they can't do phone buyouts. They don't have the capital required. But cable can do it. So they're a threat. They're a competitive threat. So I would tell them, hey, look, we can't do this no more. I gotta grow organically. Go with another provider, and I'm gonna compete against you. That's how I would see it. Because everyone now is competing against Verizon. Even cable, even those guys that are on Verizon's network, they are competing, especially with these phone buyouts that are planned. They're competing against Verizon. And that's going to accelerate, especially people that are like on 36-month contracts on their device or leasing or whatever they call it, phone financing. Cable is going to target that customer. So T-Mobile is doing that. Cable's now doing that. So Verizon is taking it from all angles. So let me know your thoughts in the comments about this. Verizon is trying to be as aggressive as they can, but their pricing is not competitive relative to the market, and it shows in their numbers. See, T-Mobile is still cheaper by 29-30% because they throw in free lines, they do this, that. So they're growing. AT&T is still cheaper than Verizon, and it's easier to obtain discounts through AT&T. Verizon, they're the ones that are a bit more expensive when it's all said and done. So all of that has to be taken into consideration, right? Legacy Verizon customers are getting price increases, and it fuels the market. Those people are leaving Verizon daily. So let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.